But then as soon as somebody gets up, it's not bad. Nothing bad happens. They can hear.
Yeah, a little bit more shade. Yeah.
So you can sit next to me.
Maybe have even or maybe not slow down.
One more down. Yeah. Sorry. We're gonna put Eva.
Yeah. Unless you don't want to.
Eva and Alpha.
I wanted you guys to.
Yeah. This is pretty, I think you sit here, and Eva sits here. Yeah, I was starting with that. So weird. Hey, Aurelio? Do you want to see the tail? I don't know. That's how much I bet you everybody's got a student from the exam. Hi, I'm
You sit there.
No, Eva, we wanted to sit there.
Yeah. I don't think I'll make it.
Yeah, I didn't want to put it on. Because you'll probably have to.
Do you want me to put it on you or Angela?
I might need to.
I hope not. I think maybe I'm wrong now.
I'm waiting for
Sense of my love.
Who is this?
Alice, your dog.
Yes. There's no good place to go. But yes. Oh yes.
and this is very bad for you.
It is, but you know it's convenient for times like this,
Yes, of
unfortunately.
course. Because
Yeah.
I'm just telling you to think carefully. about
Absolutely. Make sure you put it in the recycle bin. Yes.
Because they recycle everywhere in Durango.
Yeah, oh yes. I'd say. Sure. Indeed.
Remember her?
We're just surprised.
Even the sun was more like you.
That's so funny. I'm going through all the and Steve.
You guys don't want to use the chairs?
Alright, I'm gonna sit down softly. Got this.
Sorry.
Nobody moves.
We're getting ready to start.
So let me know about
Find your seats.
ability to hear me. I need to talk louder.
We can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Now we can.
Well, to be or not to be. Welcome everybody. Welcome. We are bound together right now by a great love that is emerging in us and through us, and what's weaving us together today in particular is our love and reverence and honoring of David Pomerantz, our beloved teacher, friend, father, grandfather, neighbor, student,
Husband.
husband. Don't forget the husband. Thank you. Uncle. So let's just take a moment to feel. David used to start out some of our meditations by us going, Let's just do 3 of those breaths, breathing all the way in. And then exhaling and letting it all out, all the sighs and everything out. And one more. And then also just take a moment to feel into the silence. This is including the sprinkler system and the traffic noise. It's part of the silence. It's all a part of the silence. And in that silence is our love for David, and also his love for us. And even though we're here to release David and return him to the ground from which he came, we're very aware of how this new form of being with him is so alive in us and filled with the beauty of that love which he brought to us and we brought to him. So we're beginning today's service with a song that we Grace Lighters like to sing, and the song is Return to the Land of My Soul by Shlomo Carlebach. It was introduced to our group by Amalia's father, Elisha Nativ, Rabbi Nativ. He brought us to it one night, and we've been singing it ever since, and I think it's going to be Carolyn alone singing it, or with Margaret. So you guys have to come up and sing here. We'll be singing here.
And we welcome everyone who knows it, please join in.
Oh, yes, and the words are on your sheets, and please join in. If so moved. Rabbi Ann Brenner, who is the rabbi in my contemplative Jewish group that I belong to, was asked if Jews believe in an afterlife. And she said, Jews don't believe in an afterlife, they don't believe in death. What they believe is that there's a transition out of the mortal body, but that the conversation that we have with our beloveds, the people who pass through that transition, continues. And so today, as we wish our beloved David Godspeed on the new part of his journey, we're also establishing that we're not breaking off the communication. We're keeping that communication with him alive, always available. I have found it all week long. Every time I've needed him, David, he's there. So one of the most sacred prayers in Judaism is called the Shema, and it starts out with Shema Yisrael, which is Hear, O Israel. And I thought it was so appropriate for thinking about that with David, because David was somebody who used all of his senses, his hearing, his sight, his feeling world. He marshaled all of his senses to listen as closely as he could to, he called it often the Divine Mother. It doesn't matter what name you give it. He heard the divine, and that was the voice he listened to for guiding him in his life. And he disciplined himself so that he pursued that relentlessly, gave his whole life to that kind of hearing and listening. And then as a result, he was able to give to each of us some part of that in some way, maybe in different ways to different people, to different members of us here. So I wrote here, he listened to how the divine expressed itself in every facet of creation. That's why he loved Durango so much. One time he just had us going and hugging trees. It wasn't, the divine wasn't some kind of esoteric God in the sky thing. The divine was something that was palpable in each of us and in everything. And he refined that, kept refining that in himself, and he, as I say here, he followed the paths of the illumined ones, the ones he read, the ones he studied, the masters, but he also created new paths. And he created the new paths to fit so that we could go on the journey with him. And sometimes it would be a path of going little, and sometimes it would be a path of dropping the jaw or sighing. He just had a way of looking into each of us and bringing forth what he saw in all of us, which was the light, the compassion, the wisdom, the goodness that is, in fact, in all of us. I was thinking, standing here today, if I was truly able to challenge him, okay, David, I want to channel you, what he would be seeing would be, and I think I can see it pretty well, a group of very divine, well-lit, well-illuminated individuals, beautiful, beautiful souls, filled with compassion, love, and kindness, clarity. So he did that for each of us. We've been touched by his presence deeply, and many people have reported that it opened all of us to hearing better, to seeing better, feeling better, to seeing the divine in the movement of the aspen leaves. So what we chose for our next song is Hear, O Children of Immortal Bliss, and be led by Susanna.
not a singer, but David stressed that we all have an important voice. So, I'm not a singer, but David stressed that we all have an important voice to share. And if you know this, please sing along. Hear, O children of immortal bliss, you are born to be united to the Lord. Follow the path of the illumined ones, and be united with the Lord of life.
You could sing another round.
Hear, O children of immortal bliss, you are born to be united to the Lord. Follow the path of the illumined ones, and be united with the Lord of life. And be united with the Lord of life.
In the Jewish tradition, we always, at Graveside or in releasing our David to his eternal rest, even though we know he's going to be working on the other side for us, he's not going to be let off that easy. There's a prayer called Imole Rachamim. It's a prayer that both wishes him a wonderful, wonderful journey. David used to say, forward in love, forward in love. That was one of his things that he would always say. Whenever you're hitting upon something and you don't know what to do or you don't know how to face what's happening next, forward in love. And so we're sending him forward in love, which we know he's got the chops for, and we're also seconding that for him and finding it in ourselves to go forward in love. And in the El Maleh Rachamim, which we will read the translation of together in call and response, we're not only picturing him in his new transition, and some of the imagery, by the way, really relates to the fact that, because there's a mention in there, I think, I may be wrong, of the Garden of Eden. And one of the things that is in all religions is that we were once all in the Garden of Eden. We were once all in this unitive state, out of time, out of all this monkey mind stuff that goes on all the time, in a place of perfect peace and timelessness. And we have the memory of that in ourselves. We have the memory of that in our being. And so when we say those words, Garden of Eden, we know that part of him is already there and part of us is already there. And we just have to find ways of manifesting it both in our bodies while we're still here and when we move on. So let's see, do I have the, okay, so I'm the leader. So I say the first and then you read with the Greek response. God, filled with maternal mercy, dwelling on high and in our hearts, grant a perfect peace beneath Shekinah's wings, holy and pure, radiant like the firmament of creation, for the soul of David Pomerantz, son of Lillian Sharp and Morris Pomerantz, who has transitioned to eternity. And just before you read your part, I just want to honor David's parents who brought him forth for us in this world. And it's so nice to be able to say their names, remember them, and honor them at this time. Now, the group.
May his memory inspire us to live justly and kindly. May his rest be in the Garden of Eden, and may he find the great freedom in the vastness of eternal life.
Weave his soul into the tapestry of life, alive to the stillness that is you as an inheritance, resting in wholeness, and let us say,
Amen.
Amen. And now for a real treat. Instead of reciting Ecclesiastes 3, lines 1 to 8, we're going to have the Birds version of the song sung by Margaret, and we will sing along with her.
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time to refrain from embracing. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to gain, a time to lose, a time to rest, a time to sow, a time for love, a time for hate, a time for peace. I swear it's not too late.
Let's just take a minute to settle back in. Just breath. Even though David is not so fond of funerals, he's having to attend one, so let's make it nice for him this way. Welcoming in and saying he can be whatever, however he wants to be, and we're just going to be open. He can even be grumpy without having to be at a funeral. We love him. So, the mourner's cottage. We're not going to attempt to read the actual Hebrew. We're going to read the transliteration. Some of us may be more familiar with it than others. If you feel that it's too awkward for you, you can just read along. If you'd like to try, please do. We're really, in this moment, honoring David's life, but honoring that all of life is a manifestation of love, and all of life is a manifestation of continuing and our continuing praise that creation, to praise that manifestation, especially the love part. David was a big love, and love in every sense of the word. So we bring that to the fullness of it. And then there's a translation and a really good.
Yitgadar v'yitgadash me'ilava, Yomah yivrachu te ve'amich ma'ote, Ve'ayechon v'yomechon v'chayei v'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agalau v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei Rabban Borach v'olam v'olam. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'al v'yitpaman v'yitnaseh, V'yitadal v'yitalev v'yithalal shmei v'yitshach v'yitzu, Le'elah v'yivol b'chato, V'shirata tushbechata v'nechmata, Yam v'yomah v'yivru amen. Yehi shlama rabba m'shamayim, V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yivru amen.
We're going to sing this last line.
Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yivru amen. Oseh shalom b'moma, Hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yivru amen.
Please join me in a version of the translation. May the great essence of power in our lives and expand throughout the world. May we learn to let it shine through so we can augment its glory. We praise, we continue to praise, and yet whatever it is that we praise is quite beyond our grasp of all those words and symbols that point us toward it. We know, and yet we do not know. May great peace pour forth from the heavens for us, for all of Israel, for all who struggle towards truth. May that which makes harmony in the cosmos above bring peace within us and between us and to all who dwell on this earth. And let us say, Amen.
Yes, we're now going to take some wonderful words from some splendid wonderful people. David has a long spiritual seeker and the highest, David Rodney.
Hi, can everybody hear me? Yes. If that changes, when I talk to groups of people, I ask somebody to throw a shoe at me. So if that changes, please do something. Throw a shoe at me. It's important for me that you can actually hear me. You want me to talk louder?
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Thank you very much. And it's better than a shoe. This is was the second most important moment of my life, although I didn't know it, when I first met David. We were both young. I was younger than he. We met in the 70s at a time when people were searching, people were looking. And it was in that context that we first met each other at a party. I was very, very interested in him the first time I met him and talked to him and asked him what he was doing. He said that he was starting to teach, and specifically he was teaching a seminar on the heart. I think seminars on the heart are good. No matter where, no matter when, they're good. So I said, can I join? He said, sure. He didn't know me, I didn't know him. We felt something. And so I did the seminar with him, and then have continued to be a student for all these years. He's a teacher that, from my perspective, you not only learn from, but you genuinely enjoy the learning from. He was an amazing person. He still is an amazing person. He told me a little bit about himself in the course of the years that we knew each other. Luckily, I met him when I was so young that our relationship spanned decades. And what I learned immediately was that he was a potter. He was transitioning from being a potter to being a teacher. And his pottery, I also learned, was amazing. At that point in time, had studied pottery for about 4 or 5 years. At the Yale Museum in San Francisco. When he first showed me his work, I held it in my hands and I said, this is impossible. Nobody could do this. This cannot exist. It was so thin and so big, and it held its structure. It was the most magnificent piece of pottery I've ever touched. I literally said, David, this is impossible. Then he explained to me how he did it. And he had worked for a long time to develop the particular techniques, but that was David. David did what he did incredibly, impeccably, because he kept at it. And because he followed, even doing his pottery, he followed his soul, he followed his spirit. Although in those days he didn't talk too much about soul and spirit. He didn't talk too much about the divine. He just did what he did, and we all benefited from it. And that's what continued. As he grew, as he changed, those of us who knew him at the time grew and changed with him. And many more people grew to know him and love him and participate in that change. His next big change was when he became a student of Hilda's. At that point in time, he was still doing his pottery. He had built a magnificent studio in perfect alignment. He had decided he was going to be a potter, so he moved to Los Angeles from Oakland and built this beautiful studio with an indoor kiln without the utilities outdoor before then, and continued to build magnificent pottery until he met Helga. I asked him, why did you go to New York? He said, to be with Hilda. I said, but you left immediately after you met her. You didn't try to know her. He said, I knew her as soon as I met her. And as soon as I met her, I knew I was going to New York. And he did. Within a matter of a week, he had disposed of his entire studio. Big studio. And moved completely to New York, and from there he lived in New York. He lived in Greenwich Village. Hilda did most of her work at the Church of St. John of the Line and lived on the Upper West Side. So he kept her as close as he possibly could. He grew with Hilda. One day he called me we were talking on the phone, and I said, why did you go to New York? He said, to meet Hilda. I said, who's Hilda? He told me about her, and I said, can I meet her? And he said, I'll ask her. Couldn't do anything until you asked her. He called me back later, and he said, Hilda will see you. It was the beginning of my relationship, a great blessing to me. And there he was, and he spent a long time with Hilda. A long time. But in the course of that long time, his wife, with whom he had divorced, passed on. leaving two children, Aaron and Eva. And those two children passed to David. So instead of continuing some portion of what he did, he gave up everything he had built in New York. He had built practice, he had built a following, his classes. He gave it all up because and I asked him why. He said, the children need to have a place they can grow up. He loved Aaron and Eva so much. Without hesitating, he gave everything up and moved to Princeton and moved Aaron and Eva in with him. Immediately, no hesitation. And there he built a new life. He had to start all over again. And it was a new life where he wasn't as close to Hilda. He was a short train ride from Hilda. And now he had to take a much longer train ride to get from Princeton to see her. And Hilda was busy. It was hard. But he did that. He rebuilt his practice. He rebuilt his life based on his relationship with his children so that they could have it. He said to me, he said they need a home that they can grow up in. And that's what he did. He gave them a home. He loved them so much he gave up everything he had to do it. I don't know that he ever talked to them about it, but that's exactly what happened. I saw it happen myself. I saw how he had to put posters up to gain a gathering in Princeton, to build something so that he could support them. And that's what his goal was. He had to support them first. He did a great job. I've just met the grown Aaron and the grown Eva. I knew them when they were young. And I knew this, both of you. And I'm grateful to be able to know you at this stage of your life. I am grateful to be able to know you at this stage of your life. He continued to be with Hilda until she passed. And then his interest turned to Aurobindo. Because Aurobindo was doing something before he passed, and the mother was doing something before she passed, that focused specifically on divinizing the world. And his teaching changed. It was focused on divinizing the world. Divinizing the world simply means to allow the inherent God in each of us to guide us, to lead us, to show us, and to allow us to become that God. And that's what he did, magnificently as usual. He did everything magnificently. It was that journey which took him to follow in Aurobindo's footsteps and try to divinize his body. I really don't know why he passed, but I'm quite confident that in part was because he had focused on the divine to the exclusion of the kind of care he could have taken of his body and was longer much more important to him. The divine was important to him, his being able to show, to be. He didn't just tell people, he showed us. He showed us what it was like. Every meditation he did, every class I ever attended of his, he showed us what divinity was. That was his gift. Anyone can talk about divinity. He showed us the divine in himself and the divine in ourselves. That was his gift to me. For those of you who knew him as a teacher, I absolutely know that was his gift to you. And that stays. Once we have that, it stays because it's truth, and truth stays with us, always, always. What he taught, what I learned with him, same thing I learned with Hilda. I learned about my own divinity. Hard to accept, but as we accept it, the best of us, like the best in David, always comes forward. And that's my goal. Sometimes I make it, sometimes I don't. I have the most trouble bringing out the divine in myself when I'm dealing with the two 12-year-old girls. They are tough. They are tough. And I learn an awful lot and apologize periodically when I can't do it. But I know that's what I'm doing. And I only hope that I can teach them to be taught. teacher, that which resides in us of what he taught us. We are honoring his teachings and being here today and sharing. I love you guys. I know many of you have been influenced all of you for years. Thank you so much. God bless us all.
Thank you.
David's son Aaron.
Thank you for being here for celebrate the extraordinary life of my father. As I stand before you, I'm filled with the gratitude for the remarkable person my father is, and was, and will be, and will always be, and the legacy he leaves behind. The love I feel for my dad by all you present here today is a testament to the profound impact he had on so many of us. Over the last several days, we've talked a lot about our father, and Molly and I have talked, and David Rotman and my sister and my wife and a lot of people. We've told so many wonderful stories about him. So rather than focusing on the chronology of his life, which I think Dave did a really nice job on, I want to talk about how he lived and the lessons he taught me through his life. My father imparted countless invaluable lessons, but today I want to focus on 5 key principles he lived by and passed on to me. Unconditional love. I call it trust in the universe. He called it trust in the divine. Listening to your heart, living with passion, and uplifting those around you. Let's start with unconditional love. My father and I shared a bond defined by unconditional love. This love means accepting someone fully for who they are without conditions or limits, or any limitations. It is love that is constant and unwavering, no matter what happens. He lived his life guided by unconditional love and taught me that life should be approached with unconditional love. For the last 5 or 6 months of his life, I was calling every day and talking to him. And even as his speech was limited, the words we exchanged the most often was love, 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 love. We chanted at each other all the time, love, 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 love. It was our mantra, our connection. And the last couple months before he passed, we would get on the phone and just keep chanting over and over and over again. And as he neared the end, his mind and his spirit seemed to merge with love. He just became so soft and loving and gentle, and there was such a peace there, and he was embodying love. That's where he went. He showed me that love isn't just something you feel, it's something you do. It's how you live your life. It's how you treat people around you. It's how you look at the universe and how you take action. It's a commitment, it's a promise, and it's an action that speaks louder than words. Trust in the divine, or the universe, as I call it. Boy, did he trust in the divine. That's all he trusted in. My father had a profound faith in the divine plan. He believed that everything happened for a reason, for a plan, that we weren't in control, and even if it was hard to understand, it was the right path. This trust helped him navigate life with grace and resilience. I think the best story about this that I was thinking about a lot recently, it's the only story I'll tell, is how he ended up in Durango, Colorado. He had a dream that he was supposed to go to Durango. But he didn't know what that meant. He didn't know where Durango was. He thought he was going to move to Mexico at some point. So one day, Amalia's at a conference in New Mexico. My dad rents a car, drives up into the mountains, and discovers this place, Durango. And goes to a real estate broker's office on a Sunday, gets a guy to show him one property. A week later, he calls David Rotman and goes, "We're going to buy that property." And that was just trusting in the universe, and the path that was laid out in front of him, and he took it. That was my dad, every step of the way, every day, all the time. Listening to your heart. Dad always encouraged me to listen to my heart. He led with his heart, not with his brain, and that's what he taught me, and that's how I look at life. He instinctively knew the right path and the right thing to do, driven by intuition rather than intellect. He had intellect, but he led with his heart, and that he instilled that in me, and it's such an unusual thing to meet people in this world who lead with their heart. I'm wired the same way, and I have to thank him for that. His advice to follow the inner voice, no matter where it led, gave me the courage to pursue my dreams and stay true to myself. Passion for all you do. I think David talked about that quite a bit. Everything my dad did, he did with passion, and he excelled at, and he mastered everything he did. And it was a lot of things that you guys don't even know about. He was a chess champion in Oregon. He was an excellent baseball player. It just goes on and on throughout his life. My father lived with passion. Whether it was his work, hobbies, or relationships, he approached everything with a fervor that was inspiring. He believed that if something was worth doing, it was worth doing with passion and 100% commitment. Whether as a potter, a spiritual teacher, or a healer, an athlete, a husband, a father, or a builder, he pursued each role with determination and excelled at it. When I was born, my father called me the banker in the family. Everybody else in my family is will follow the path of teaching or academics. My mother, my sister, my niece, probably. My dad studied, became a teacher. But he called me, I was the black sheep of the family. Yet as a businessman, I followed my passion just as my dad taught me. And every day I live my passion and I enjoy what I do and I make the world a better place to do what I do. My father taught us all to embrace our passion and live to the fullest, regardless of the path we are led down. Because we only have the illusion that we choose it. His belief in the importance of passion united us, even in our career, if our lives took different paths. Lifting up those around you. Perhaps one of the most beautiful qualities my father possessed was his ability to lift up those around him. And I just look around here and I think of everybody here who he's lifted up. He had a way of making everyone feel valued, and important. He believed in the power of encouragement and support and never hesitated to lend a hand or a kind word or a tough word. We all got those sometimes. He always made sure that anyone who interacted with him left feeling better. I've taken this lesson to heart and strive to live my life the same way. His legacy is one of kindness, generosity, and uplifting others. The lessons my father taught me will be part of me for the rest of my life, just as he will always be a part of me. As I impact others with the lessons he taught me, his spirit continues to make the world a better place. My dad led a glorious and wonderful life. And his impact on the world, on the people around him was incredible. He was, and he still is, because he's still here, a shining light that illuminated humanity. There's no true loss here, because we all have David in our hearts. He's with us all the time in our thoughts, our actions, and our memories. His presence is felt in every lesson he taught us, every kind word he spoke, and every life he touched. As we move forward, let us remember that he is still with us, guiding us and loving us from within. As you celebrate David today, let us carry forward the lessons he taught us. Let us love unconditionally, trust in the divine, listen to our heart, live with passion, and lift those up around us. In doing so, we will honor his memory and keep his spirit alive within us and within the world. Dad, your love, wisdom, and spirit will remain with us always. Thank you for being the incredible father, spiritual teacher, and person that you were and are. You will always be in our hearts. Love, 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 love.
David's daughter, Eva Pomerantz.
So I was thinking about kind of the 4 characteristics of my father as a parent, so from a little bit of a different perspective, and I wanted to share those with you. So the first really is that he was really raised us. It was a really fun thing for him. He had a really great sense of humor, and he spent a lot of his life making up these bizarre stories and trying to get us to believe them. And you know, by high school or the end of high school, we were pretty doubtful of anything that he said. And so we were really happy when he decided to marry Amalia, because among Amalia's many fabulous characteristics is that she just was very gullible. And not only was Amalia really gullible, but her sister was gullible and her mother was gullible. And so the focus changed to these trick stories for Amalia's family. But I think that was a really fun thing in our family growing up, to kind of always be wondering what was real and what wasn't. The second is that I think, you know, you think of my dad as this very confident, passionate, follow your heart person, but I think he had a lot of anxiety around raising his kids, that we would be okay. And part of this was because he was 25 when I was born, and because, as David said, he was suddenly fully responsible for us. And so he was always worried that something would happen to us. And so I went to college in New York City, and remember that this was before cell phones, and this was the beginning of the AIDS pandemic. And so he was always worried about me. And I wondered, you know, why does he call me at like 7 in the morning? And now as a parent I understand, because there was no cell phone, so I can text my daughter at college anytime just to make sure she's still alive after the weekend. So now I realize he was just calling to make sure I was still there and still alive. And of course this was the AIDS pandemic, so he would also give me these words of advice that have always stuck in my head. If you're going to kiss any boys, use a dental dam. Because remember, we didn't know how AIDS was spread. That was one thing I just didn't listen to him about. So the third characteristic is he was so patient with both me and my brother, and we moved with him to Princeton. For me, that was my sophomore year of high school. This was a lot harder high school, and I was a very anxious person. And I was sure I wasn't going to do well in school, and this was also before the computer, and my dad would type all my papers. He'd be up past midnight typing my papers, and of course I'm a perfectionist, and I would be like, oh, we need to retype this whole thing because I got to reword this paragraph. And so I think he was really happy when I transitioned out of that stage. I got a little bit of my own karma with that. With one of my children. But he also bought me my first computer when it was really early for computers, because then I could reword things whenever I wanted. And then finally, the fourth thing is something that my brother mentioned, and that's, you know, he really loved us unconditionally. And sometimes when I think about who I am and why I turned out okay, is because I had the unconditional love of my father. And I think I was a very compliant, obedient teenager. I didn't have a lot of forms of rebellion. But as I grew older, I decided I never wanted to meditate, ever. And this was my form, and he just didn't care. Or he might have cared, but he did not show it. And I think that unconditional love was really important. I hope I can convey that to my own children in the same way that my dad did. So thank you all for being here. Oh, that's not.
No, it's recording. It's recording. Ellen. Yeah, just responding to Harry.
To me, David is just the living light of love. And what a grace, incomparable grace to meet him. And he always saw into your soul, right past your personality. He knew your personality, he knew all the kinks in it, but he looked always at your soul. And from that, I realized my soul, what a gift. I'm eternally grateful.
opportunity to end with the 23rd Psalm, The Lord is my shepherd. In Graveside we have our own version, Love is my shepherd. If you know it, please join me. Love is my shepherd, I shall not want. Love maketh me to lie down in green pastures. Love leadeth me beside the still waters. Love restoreth my soul. Love guides me in the straight paths. Love guides me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for love is with me. My rod and my staff is love, and love comforts me. Love comforts me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of my enemies. My cup of love runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all of the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of love forever. I shall dwell in the house of love forever. I shall dwell in the house of love forever. I shall dwell in the house of love forever. We end with a time for each person individually to take a flower and to take some dirt and to put it on the grave, and to take our own time to say goodbye to David in his physical form and to say hello to him in his eternal form.
Is it going to be lowered?
Thank you, Stan.
Yeah. And family members will come to the graveside first with the flowers on the
That's right, you did a great job. And you two did a great job. There you go.
When you take a flower or you take some of the dirt to put into the grave, if there's something that comes to you that you want to speak out, to share to all of us, please feel free to just say it out loud. Could be a word, could be something like forward in love, could be whatever it is, if it comes to you. Otherwise it could be a private moment.
We have a moment, so does anyone else want to offer a eulogy? Craig?
Father back in 1994.
You just have to talk really loud.
Yeah, I'll wait.
I don't think you just gotta go. Just come over and
Greg
over.
met David in 1994.
Yay!
He was the first person in my life who actually saw me. He saw my divinity. He saw my truth. I showed up to their home as this kind of scraggly, rough-looking punk with dreadlocks. I was a total mess. And
19-year-old.
yeah, 19-year-old, big purple pants. And as soon as I met him, I just knew that there was something great here, something powerful, so utterly profound. And it deeply scared me, but also it woke something up in me. I knew that there was no longer any movement in me, any space for any screwing around. Now, I certainly had all kinds of rough edges and gave him all kinds of a hard time. But he loved me greatly. He showed me how to love. He gave me this gift of loving myself and how to share that love with others. He was so good to me for 20 years. He treated me with the highest respect, highest honor. It was such a blessing. I've traveled the world over and met many great spiritual teachers and worked with great psychologists, therapists, and healers. No one even came close to the love and the greatness that he showed me. It was both in the highest of high of divinity, but also in just deep humility that he shared with me, which is such a love that just anyone who came into contact with him received such a gift. And I think that often, he did have this nature where he would kind of joke and poke fun, and it confused a lot of people at times. Confused people. And I think a lot of people missed it. They missed his greatness, because, sometimes he would enter in a way that would disarm someone, and, they wouldn't realize that they were speaking to a living Buddha, a living Christ, a great being. And it was just such a gift, and I'm so eternally grateful. And it's been a little bit since I've been spending time with David. And last Friday, I was just out in my yard, over there, like right along the hillside, and I just felt this presence just kept coming to me and coming to me. What is this? What is this? And it just kept coming and coming with power and light. And throughout the week, I'll be working or walking or rushing somewhere with my little girl, and this light just kept coming and coming. And finally, Amalia sent me this email. It's like, oh, there it is. And David's come and he's saying hello, and saying goodbye, and saying hello again, and saying hello again. And so just what a gift, and I feel so truly honored, and in a selfish way, I feel so happy to be able to share this hillside with David, and be able to be up here and be close to him, and even in a physical way again. So thank you. Thank you so much, Amalia, for everything you gave to me. And thank you, everyone, for in the Graveside community for putting up with me and all my silliness and all. Truly, what a gift.
You got the roller.
This year I was been married 45 years. David saved my marriage. Way back in the beginning, my husband and I were having terrible fights, and that we could never resolve. And I went to David complaining, and he said, "You have to tell him you're sorry, no matter what. Even if you're right, you have to tell him you're sorry." It took me a whole year to be able to say I was sorry when I was right. I took that year and I learned how hard it was for me. I saw into parts of myself that I didn't know were there. And one day I was going going to an advance in Princeton. I said, if I don't do it now, I can't show up. Let David see that I haven't done it yet. And so I did it. My husband and I had our typical before vacation fight. Came back from his work. I apologized. And it changed the course of our marriage. It totally created a space for him to then come to me. It was magic. And the proof of the pudding is, here we are 45 years later, because he taught me about a new thing about love and everybody's heart. Thank you, David. Oh Lord, let us see what you can make of me, for I for one simply love you. Oh Lord, let us see what you can make of one who like me simply loves you. Okay, yeah.
Song that came to me when I was visiting David and Amalia said to me, we need some more songs. So I just sat there and then told her to get a pen. Oh Lord,
let us see
let us see what you can make of me. I, for one, simply love you. Oh Lord, let us see what you can make of one who like me simply loves you. Oh Lord, let us see what this world would be in those just like me, simply love you.
I'm quite confident this is not my voice.
Well, they came through you. Thank you.
On behalf of the family, thank you all so much. Wonderful service, beautiful. Even got the old undertaker choked up a little bit. The family will continue some private time after the services, and we are dismissed, so thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Lots of love to everybody. Lots of love. Lots of love. Lots of love.
Love, 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 love.
This morning, I think they would send
It's worth it. It's one of ourselves, so that the earth is fully organized. Again, because my happens to this is the world. What a victory.
We knew what she was talking about.
Clip on shoes?
I got it from my grandma and from my mom and from my doing that, and you just expect it to be
Living on top of the planet, never in the
yeah,
I can see now.